let's talk about macro photography and how to capture close-up magnified image. So it's capturing even more than your eyes can see. So there is a PowerPoint that goes through some of different images and artists. And then we in our class have two different macro lenses. And they're not lenses, actually. They're attachments. They're magnifiers. So we have some that stack up and magnify at different levels. So it's basically like attaching a magnifying glass to the end of your lens. So this is one magnification. This is 2 times, 4 times, and then 10 times closer. And then we have another type of lens that is a macro. It magnifies it and it makes it a little wider angle. So either one that you have, it doesn't matter, but both of them, you are attaching them to the end of the lens you already have. So with this, you just really want to make sure that your lens, that you don't force it on, that you make it nice and loose. And every once in a while, these little threads get dented and it's hard to get these on. So if you ever have trouble getting on, you can always tape it on if you had to as well, if you were stuck. Let me focus that. So if you ever get stuck, you could always tape it on there. There we go. So this just screws on the end of your lens. If you have this lens, same thing. This one, you take this little piece off. There's 2 little attachments on this one, so you want to make sure they're both there. One's the macro, and one is a little bit just to make it a little wider. And then that screws on there, and then you take the caps off. So either one, they both work the same way. So it doesn't matter which one that you have. Okay, so these can be a little tricky, and it can feel like they're not working. So I want to go through how to use these with you. So macro is very close up. So you want to grab some things with interesting textures and things like that. So I am grabbing this wreath because it has interesting pines, pine cones, berries. You want to try to use real objects or things you find outside, things like that, because it will really show the detail and the textures of things. So at the end of the PowerPoint, I have the camera settings that you need to use. These are going to be very important because otherwise you might think your lens isn't working correctly. So after you attach the lens, make sure that your camera's on the M setting. I'm going to swap over here. So make sure you're on the M setting. You also want to put your camera on manual focus. So switch that to MF. And then as far as your settings, for the camera themselves, you want to make sure, because you're hand holding the camera, you're not using a tripod, use your finger and make the dial go to 1/60th, because remember, you don't want to ever go slower than 1/60th of a second if you are hand holding the camera. I'm also going to use a low f-stop. So I'm going to hold the AB plus or minus button here and use my dial and scroll this so my f-stop is as low as it'll go. And then I'm just going to adjust my ISO as needed when I am taking pictures. So probably indoors, you're going to need like a 400 or an 800, maybe even a 1600 ISO. I'm also going to use a ring light to light up my area and add as much light as possible. Okay, so I've got my light. Some students even put their light on the end of their lens. They think that's kind of helpful. So you have to kind of hold it, or you could tape it if you really want like some bright light. A lot of times though, I'll just kind of put it off to the side and light up my area. The other thing I like to do is have a squirt bottle and like spritz some water onto my objects. It just adds like kind of a glistening effect. So this is the tricky part here, is getting your camera to focus. So a lot of you don't have this live view mode, so you might have to look through your viewfinder. But for my demonstration, I'm just going to show you. I'm going to press the live view mode so you can see it live on my screen. Okay, so right now it's giving me, my pictures look a little dark. You'll be able to see it on my screen as we go. I'm going to increase my ISO really quick to 1600. And I might need to actually bring my light in closer. So like wherever you can get your light to really light up the area. I have some really cool water drops on here that I like. Try to get my light to stay in place there. Okay, So when you're taking a picture with macro, what you need to do is you need to almost touch the object with your lens. So what I'm doing is, whether you're looking through the viewfinder or if you have the live screen mode, either one, most of you are going to have to look through the viewfinder. You're going to zoom in. So zoom in with your camera to get really close. Okay? Then you're going to move your camera forward really close. And if your pictures are looking blurry, you're going to twist the tip of your lens to get them focused. So what I'm going to have to do is kind of move back and forth. I'm zoomed in, and I'm going to adjust my focus. If it's still blurry, pull back on your camera just a little and get a little further away from your object, or go a little closer. You just are kind of moving back and forth. See if you can see that from above until it gets focused. So right now it's blurry, and I'm using the focus to try to focus it. It's not focusing, so I can move back. Oops, there we go. I can move, it's opposite in the camera here, sorry. I can twist my lens, move back. There we go, until it gets in focus. And then I can take my picture. And because I'm at 1/60th of a second, it shouldn't have too much motion blur. So once again, let's try the berries now. I go in close. I might have to light these berries up a bit more. Can you see my screen? I'm zoomed in. I'm twisting my focus until it gets sharp. So I'm going to pull back and make sure it's completely sharp. So I'm just moving my camera a little further away to capture that image, and that's nice and sharp. So I'm at 1/60th of a second, low f-stop. I'm at a 1600 ISO, and I'm on my manual focus, just moving back and forth with my camera, just slightly zoomed in, and just adjusting the focus manually. So you've got to find that sweet spot where everything is nice and sharp.